Here's what's coming up on the world today. Rescue continues in Turkey and in Syria as workers say they have to dig with their hands sometimes. Cyclone Gabrielle hits New Zealand's largest city, Auckland. I want to welcome our viewers here in Nigeria and around the world. I'm Amarachi Ubani in Lagos. We're following closely updates from the aftermath of the earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria. A death toll inching dangerously closer now to 40,000. Rescue work continued in one of the cities hit by the quake, Gaziantep. Efforts there have been yielding some success. A woman was pulled out alive from the rubble of a collapsed building a week since the quake struck. 40-year-old Saibul Kaya was rescued in southern Gaziantep province 170 hours after the first two quakes struck in the region. Excavators dug slowly through large mounds of rubble in Gaziantep as security personnel braved the call to stand guard nearby. Residents and aid workers in some Turkish cities cited worsening security conditions, with widespread accounts of businesses and collapsed homes being robbed. Well, miraculous rescues is what we've been seeing over the course of the week. They're popping up in cities across Turkey. Much earlier today as well, rescue workers using thermal cameras and shovels painstakingly looked for survivors. Indi Karanmanmaras rescuers this morning spoke about some of the rescues happening days after the quake. Now, a Spanish team rescued a 50-year-old woman on Sunday. She'd been under the rubble of a collapsed building for over 144 hours, according to emergency services, with chances of finding more survivors growing even more remote. A toll in the earthquake has risen to above 33,000. This was as of Sunday, and it looks like it will keep growing. It's the deadliest quake Turkey has experienced since 1939. Dr. Esther Almela of the Madrid Emergency Service, who carried out the rescue, described the fact that the woman was still alive as nothing short of a miracle. On the Syrian side, the UN AIDS chief, Martin Griffiths, visiting Aleppo, said Syria and Turkey's earthquake rescue phase is coming to a close, with urgency now shifting to providing shelter, food, schooling, and psychosocial care. Griffiths said the United Nations will have aid moving from government-held regions to the rebel-held northwest, a front line across which aid has seldom passed during the conflict, adding that aid appeals would be issued for all the regions hit by the earthquake. And in the UN Syria envoy has met with the country's foreign minister Faisal Mekdad, telling him the UN is mobilizing funding to support Syria at this time. Thousands of people have been killed in Syria by the earthquake that struck its border region with Turkey on February 6, but aid has been really slow reaching the most affected areas. The hostilities that have fractured the country during 12 years of civil war are now hindering relief work. Several Arab countries have provided support to Assad, that's President Bashar al-Assad of Syria, in the quake's aftermath. Western countries, however, which sought to isolate the Syrian president after his crackdown on protests in 2011 and the outbreak of civil war, are major contributors to human relief efforts across the country, but have provided little direct aid to Damascus during the civil war. The first shipment of European Quake aid to government-held parts of Syria also arrived in Damascus on Sunday. We'll have more from our London correspondent in just a minute, but just to keep you updated, miraculous rescues across Syria, across Turkey today. 10 cities affected by the earthquake. The death toll rising to above 33,000. UN aid workers warning that it could rise higher. The chances of finding more survivors growing slimmer by the day, even though there have been miraculous rescues happening 140 hours after the quake. There seems to be more efforts happening on the side of Turkey, aid reaching to as many people as possible, as well as settlement areas set up by the government, which is to help settle these survivors in Turkey. as a result of the earthquake. Let's just listen in on one of the rescue operations holding in Turkey at the moment.
We are kind of sure of two. So we seen them with the thermal cameras. We seen them yesterday, we seen them today. They are still alive. They are still in very good condition because with the thermal cameras, with the heat what we get, we can understand their conditions. So it's already a miracle. The building inside is super dangerously collapsed. So you cannot just go inside, and you should be really careful also not to harm the people inside. So we are like kind of, we say in Turkey, we are digging with our nails. One by one, slowly, slowly, slowly. We try from one place, and there was a block, and then we broke it, another. And we have to work very carefully, you know. So now we try from up, we try from down, now we are going from down.
Our senior London correspondent Juliana Olainka is in Istanbul, the center point where aid is being coordinated to other parts of the country also hit by the earthquake in Turkey. Juliana, you've had the opportunity to visit some settlement camps. Give us a sense of the situation on the ground.
Good evening, Amar. From Istanbul. I'm actually in a place called UEB at Islamic Help's Istanbul Center. Islamic Help were one of the first responders on the ground. I'm actually being joined here by Safa Sismek, who is the country director. He'll be able to tell us exactly what has been happening. We were just seeing, Safa, some of hope, I would say, because there is still hope. People are still being pulled out. But just talk to me exactly about the scale of such a disaster.
Hello everyone, good evening. I'm Safa Şimşek, the country director of Islamic Help Turkey. Yes, this is the biggest disaster in the last century, and we wake up in the morning of Monday with terrible news. News are coming from many cities, our relatives, friends from the field. And as Islamic Help, we were one of the first responders to the calls. Our first team has left from Istanbul in the first day, noontime, and arrived to the Kahramanmaraş center in the second day. It takes 24 hours to reach to the area, because beside the earthquake, it was a huge earthquake. It is also winter, the coldest time in Turkey, especially in the area. Before the earthquake, the meteorology agencies announced the alerts for the bad winter conditions, bad storms. So reaching to area was also very difficult. Our team has reached the area in the second day, and they first assist the search and rescue teams. When they arrive to the city, they report terrible and unbelievable pictures to us. They report, and you should imagine this is a very strong earthquake, and it is not only one earthquake, it's a double earthquake. In between two earthquakes, it is 8 hours. The first earthquake was around 4 a.m. in the morning, and the second one is in the day, early morning again, around 10 or near to noon. So two earthquakes make the things worse.
Yes.
And the affected area is very wide. 10 cities of Turkey has affected, and winter conditions make it more difficult to the area.
It has been bad. Sorry to interject there, Safa. We're now 7 days in. I can see, I don't know, our viewers can't really see, but you have, it's not a makeshift office. This is a huge office that you're working from, but a very small team, lots of volunteers. 7 days on, what is the reality now? What is so desperately needed? Is this still a rescue operation, or is this a recover and rebuild operation at this stage?
Well, we are facing miracles I'm not making bigger the thing. We are facing miracles. Just 2 hours ago, my friends told me from the field. Also, it's on the news that still it is how many hours? Just 2 hours ago, alive people rescued.
Wow.
Normally in this kind of disasters, they said after 72 hours, you should not have too much hope. But it is now, as you said, 6 days, 7 days. But today, even alive people are still coming.
Wow, it's nice to see just a small smile on your face there, Safa, because people are still being pulled out alive, Amarachi, as I think we were just playing as well. I think it's really important to talk about something the international community are asking, and that is it too early to hold the government to account? Is it fair to hold the government to account? I know that President Erdogan has visited several of the emergency camps, but the economy is struggling, inflation is high. I've been around Istanbul today. People are obviously devastated, but they have their own lives to live. Should we be asking those questions yet, or is it too soon?
To understand the situation better, we should see the numbers and the facts all together, to look the right screen. This earthquake affects how wide the area. It is almost a country in Europe, the affected area, the whole country. 10 cities. Some cities are clean,
flattened.
Yes, flattened. And the being ready for such disaster, of course, there should be some cautions need to be taken, but we can not say only the government. As societies, there are some experts talking about with the statistics. If this earthquake would happen in Europe or in Asia, in some other countries, what would happen?
Yeah.
The results would be not too much different, because, as I said, it is not one earthquake, more than one, first. And of course, we learn a lot from this crisis, but people are upset. But I can assure you, I was on the field. I just came to Istanbul yesterday, and my team is still on the ground. These days, government institutions, NGOs, international and national NGOs, even all type of societies come together. I can few things are making us small smiles in these days. One, as you said, some news people are rescued and saved lives are making us small smiles. And seeing such pictures on the ground, I am witnessing this, like Turkey, hosting a big number of refugees in all the cities.
Yes.
And now we are getting messages from all around the world, including in Turkey, some representative of refugee organizations, different Middle East, Africans, Asians. They are
together.
also coming, and they are trying to be on the field to assist us in any way.
Yes.
And I cannot tell how valuable is this.
Yes.
I was on the ground. I got some phones and some messages that make us feel stronger, I can say.
Yes.
Because all human being has a capacity. You go to a field, you see screens all around, and there is only one way to enter a city. The airports were not open for some cities.
Yes.
So, and winter conditions. Even you mobilized all your capacity as government, as all institutions, there are some facts to reach to the field.
I know there's so much, and I'm so sorry to cut you, Safa, because clearly even you need some sleep, as I can see from your eyes there. But thank you so much for the work you are doing. And as you can see, Amarachi, you heard it here first. Just 2 hours ago, somebody was pulled from the rubble. So there is still hope. The human body and what it can cope with is absolutely phenomenal. Tomorrow, I will be going to Ankara, where we will be speaking with the Nigerian ambassador to Turkey, Ismail Yusufa. We will be speaking to people from the Nigerian community who have inevitably been caught up in such a disaster. But with the death toll rising and with the conditions pretty tough, there is still a long way ahead for the citizens of Turkey at the moment.
Right. Juliana, just before you go, I was hoping you'd speak to Ismail about supplies, because we're learning that supplies are running low on the Turkish side as well as on the Syrian side. Rescuers are needing things like even as minuscule as underwear and even other supplies like health needs, toothbrushes, tents, even blankets because of the weather.
Let me bring you in here. Come closer. Come closer. And you can speak directly to Amarachi.
Okay. Right now, from my team and from other organizations, today in the day we had a meeting with AFAD, the Disaster Management Presidency of Government, with all the representatives of the NGOs. The basic need right now is shelters, because after the earthquake, the other part of Turkey and also many organizations, national and international, the relief come like rain, alhamdulillah. And we are grateful to the people who support in many ways. Now, this is a long-run disaster. I mean, the effect of this disaster is going to take more time. So we need support continuously. I'm not sure how long it's going to take, but as I said, some cities are totally collapsed, and there will be new cities need to be established. But right now, on the ground, the most needed thing is shelters. As our organization and many other organizations, beside providing the hot food and basic needs like hygiene kits and other basic relief items, we are focusing on the shelters, container houses, and tents for the people, because our team are reporting from the ground that wherever they go to distribution, besides some materials, all of them are asking the shelters, tents, or other type of shelters. So this is the most needed thing right now.
Well, I was asking for the rescuers. I mean, you and your other colleagues on the ground, on the field, what are some of the things that you need that would help you to do your work even better?
We need, of course, this to handle and to organize our activities. We need more support, and our HQ headquarters in London, they start a big campaign at UK. We are reporting and giving all the information constantly to them, and our website islamichealth.org.uk. You can, our audiences, viewers can see more details on the website. We had a big campaign, and we are asking donations from all over the world through many organizations, and our headquarters also has a big campaign for that. All our offices all around the world, in Asia, in Africa, in other continents, now they are working for this earthquake, these disasters, and we are asking the financial support to organize the activities here. There will be need for MHPSS projects, there will be need for some education and trainings for the people. This, as I said, this after the first wave, the shock period of the disaster, in the long run, maybe it will take 1 year or more than 1 year to heal the people mentally and to cover their needs. It is a long run work.
It is. It is a long journey to recovery. Thank you so much, Safa. I apologize for calling you Ismail in the first instance. Safa Simsek is with the Islamic Help in Turkey. Juliana, thank you so much for bringing Safa on the program, and we know that you have a lot more to do. Also coping with the weather there. We understand the temperatures are dropping, especially at night, so do stay safe. You, Safa, and all the rescue workers as well. We hope there will be more miracles, in the next few hours.
Thank you, Amaranth.
Drone footage there of Israeli lawmakers, or rather Israelis protesting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's judiciary reform plan, just hours after judiciary lawmakers traded insults on Monday over government plans to overhaul the judiciary. Wow, these were protesting outside. Well, the plan itself would give right-wing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu greater control of appointments to the bench and weaken the Supreme Court's ability to strike down legislation or rule against the executive. They've triggered angry protests across the country for weeks now. Protesters gathered outside the Israeli parliament, the Knesset, in Jerusalem, waving Israeli flags and chanting democracy. Morning trains from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem were packed with people, many of them carrying Israeli flags, protesting signs, and heading to the demonstration. Thousands others demonstrated in Tel Aviv and in other cities as well. While protesters gathered inside the Knesset, the Constitution, Law and Justice Committee voted to send the first chapter of the plan to the plenum for a first reading after a rowdy start to the meeting in which several lawmakers were thrown out forcibly to shouts of shame. Prime Minister Netanyahu, currently on trial on corruption charges, which he denies, says that changes are needed to restore balance in the system and to curb activist judges who have overreached their powers to interfere in the political sphere.
I came with my children to demonstrate for democracy. We all in a strike. We plan to go to Jerusalem afterward and take a stand and be clear that we won't stand for changing the democracy in Israel.
I'm here to protest and trying to preserve democracy in Israel for my kids and for every kid of every religion and shape and color in Israel, and to try to protect all that Israel has gained from being a global engine of high tech and a center of progress and enlightenment in a hostile region, and to do whatever we can to make this country free for every child of every religion in Israel.
And in Indonesia, a court has sentenced a former police general to death for orchestrating the murder of his bodyguard in a case that has gripped the Southeast Asian country for months now. Ferdi Sambo, an ex-inspector general and head of internal affairs with the National Police, whose trial began in October, appeared before a panel of 3 judges at a court in Jakarta. Prosecutors called for a life sentence. Sambo's lawyer, Arman Hannes, told reporters later his legal team will study the ruling, but declined to say whether it would appeal. Spectators in the courtroom reacted to the verdict with cheers and gasps while Sambo consulted with his legal team. A trial has raised concerns over impunity at the top of Indonesia's police force. Police had initially said the bodyguard, 27-year-old Brigadier Yoshua Huta Barat, was killed in a shootout with another officer at Sambo's Jakarta residence last year. During the trial, however, Sambo said the killing was not planned and attributed it to his anger because he believed Hutabarat had raped his wife. But the judges on Monday dismissed the claim due to a lack of evidence. A lawyer representing the victim's family told reporters he believed Sambo deserved the death penalty, while Hutabarat's mother stood close by clutching her son's photograph. To weather events in New Zealand, the country's declared a state of emergency as Cyclone Gabrielle began to lash the North Island. People in several regions such as Northland and Auckland, the country's largest city, have been warned of high risk of tidal flooding by the Civil Defence Department. Thousands of people are cut off now from the power grid in North Island. Forecasters say 400 millimeters of rain and wind gusts of 130 kilometers per hour are expected over the next 20 hours. A national carrier, Air New Zealand, cancelled all domestic flights to and from Auckland on Sunday, and many international flights have been cancelled. Schools and childcare centres in the region remain closed. 26 emergency shelters and civil defence centres have been set up across Auckland, according to the Civil Defence Department. Now, Auckland and many other places in the region have been upgraded to red alert as Met Service, the National Meteorological Service, warned the worst weather is yet to come. The government has asked residents to prepare sandbags to buffer their homes, store food and water, and be ready for necessary evacuations in the coming days. Many sandbag stations are set up across Auckland, and locals have been encouraged to prepare their own sandbags for extreme situations. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins has called on people to take the severe weather warning seriously and stay at home, cancel all unnecessary travels as much as possible.
As you've heard, we expect the impacts of Cyclone Gabrielle to get, unfortunately, a wee bit worse before they get better, and it's not the time to be complacent. We're not quite out of the woods yet. I can't stress enough that please have a plan to leave your home if you see water levels rising around you, or if you're worried about land stability around your property. Don't wait to be told to leave.
It's going to be a hard night and a very difficult week, and for many the recovery will be long. But together Auckland is strong by supporting each other. We will get through the cyclone and stay safe, Aucklanders.
Nearly 25,000 people have so far been assisted with food, clothing, shelter, bedding and accommodation. People have lost their homes and their vehicles. Families are facing additional challenges getting children back to school. And many families will be facing anxiety and distress from the significant disruption they've experienced.
Welcome back. You're still watching The World Today on Channels Television. Recent incidents regarding balloons being shot down by the United States, which suspects that they're surveillance balloons from China, form part of a pattern which highlights the need for NATO to be vigilant, according to Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg. The U.S. military fighter jets on Sunday shot down an octagonal object over Lake Huron, according to the Pentagon. It's the latest incident since a suspected Chinese surveillance balloon put North American security forces on high alert. It's also the fourth flying object to be shot down over North America by a U.S. missile in a little more than a week. China's foreign ministry says it has no information on the latest three flying objects shot down by the United States.
Well, I think what we saw over the United States, I visited the United States last week, is part of a pattern where China, but also Russia, are increasing their intelligence and surveillance activities against NATO allies with many different platforms. We see it in cyber, we see it with satellites, more and more satellites, and we see it then with balloons. That highlights the importance of our vigilance, our increased presence, and also that we ramp up and step up how we share intelligence and how we monitor and protect our airspace.
Well, we'll take stories now from the continent, particularly Kenya welcoming the first group of Chinese tourists after the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's a look at a roundup of stories that made headlines over the weekend on the continent.
Kenya on Saturday welcomed the first group of Chinese tourists after 3 years of pandemic-related hiatus at a ceremony in the Kenyan capital of Nairobi, marked with pomp and pageantry. Getting off the plane at the Nairobi Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, they were welcomed with serenading music as they walked past a group of traditional dancers and drummers. Kenyan travel agencies are fully prepared for the arrival of Chinese tourists after the Chinese Ministry of Culture and Tourism announced last month it will restore outbound group tours for Chinese citizens on a trial basis from February the 6th.
First of all, I want to take this opportunity to specifically thank the government, the Chinese government, for lifting up this ban on group travel. We are very, very grateful.
The Principal Secretary of Kenya's State Department of Tourism lauded the Chinese government for choosing Kenya amongst 3 African nations, including Egypt and South Africa, to pilot China's outbound group tours.
I'm feeling so excited after having the first group to Kenya after 2019 COVID. We are looking forward to a very busy season from July to September because of the migration in the Masai Mara. The Chinese people, they boost a lot of tourism. The Chinese coming to Kenya, I think so the economy will go up.
At present, China is Kenya's 6th biggest tourism source market internationally, contributing 5.5% of total international tourist arrivals in the country during the pre-pandemic period. The reopening of China will provide a significant boost to the travel sector and Kenya's economy.
At least 12 civilians have been killed in an attack in northern Burkina Faso. Reports say in Kosi province, close to the border with Mali, armed men on motorbikes stormed the village of Senakudugu early on Friday. Animals and goods were looted. Islamist groups have forced hundreds of thousands of people from their homes in Burkina Faso and in neighboring Mali and in Niger. The military regimes in Burkina Faso and Mali have expelled the French troops, which had been unsuccessfully fighting the Islamists, and have invited Russian mercenaries instead. And the Republic of Chad has begun the trial of 150 rebels accused of causing the death of President Idriss Déby. According to local media, the trial will take place in Klessoum, in a high-security prison. Suspects belong to the Front for Concord and Change in Chad, FACT for short, a rebel movement which launched an offensive to overthrow Chad's government from its rare bases in Libya back in 2021. They're being charged with terrorism, enlisting child soldiers, mercenarism, undermining state security and assassination of a sitting president. President Déby was killed on the front line in April of 2021 while overseeing the army's operations to drive back the rebels. And with the help of France, Chad's new military rulers have been able to stop the rebel advance. Nearly 2 years since Déby's death, negotiations between the rebel movements and the Chadan government have stalled. A group has boycotted peace-building talks, demanding the release from jail of all of its members. Well, here in Nigeria, many business owners in Delta State, just like their counterparts in other parts of the country, over the years have continually suffered the negative effects of epileptic power supply, and in some areas, no power supply at all. To change the narrative, the governor, Ifeanyi Okowa, has flagged off a 5 million solar connection initiative through the Ministry of Energy.
The power sector requires strategic infrastructure that represents a most important requirement for moving the economy forward. It's a known fact that epileptic power supply makes Nigeria one of the countries with high cost of doing business. In Asaba, the Delta State capital, there's a cluster of small businesses where entrepreneurs and other businesses resort to self-help by generating their own power. The usual noise emanating from generating sets is a clear indicator of what business owners here go through on a daily basis. They speak on how the situation is affecting their businesses.
We dey use pumper. We not get light. The noise, the carbon that the generators are bringing out, which is the smoke, it's hard to us compared to, there's no space here. Everywhere is so occupied. You see cars around. For you to have a space where there will be a free air, there is none.
For some others, it's a case of total blackout.
Now we don't see customer. That's why I just be in shop now observing, because there's no light now. and the heat is too much.
In order to address the situation, the Delta State government has partnered with a private firm for alternative source of power supply at very minimal cost.
So you're all welcome to the
At a forum to unveil the alternative source of power in Delta State, the Commissioner for Energy asked the people to key into the program in order to reduce the cost of doing business.
This is very, very important if the people have an alternate scheme. It's the most important thing about why the governor bought into it is it has various categories. Those who are at the lowest rung of society can see access it and afford the one that they can afford.
In line with the smart and stronger Delta agenda, the state government believes this will help ameliorate the electricity challenges faced by the people and also complement the efforts of the state government in the provision of power to Deltans.
A pop and R&B superstar Rihanna made a grand return to the stage on Sunday, floating high above the Super Bowl field, thrilling the crowd with a fast-paced medley of her hits. Rihanna, dressed in hot pink jumpsuits and baggy coats, opened the biggest showcase in music by singing one of her popular songs as she stood with a noticeably round belly on a platform suspended in the air, meaning she's expecting a second baby. Rihanna was surrounded throughout the 13-minute performance by dozens of dancers in baggy white outfits. It was a 34-year-old Grammy winner's first stage performance in 5 years. She concluded her Super Bowl set with diamonds as fireworks lit up the sky around the stadium. Rihanna joins the list of music luminaries who have performed at Super Bowl, from Lady Gaga to Beyonce to Prince, Madonna, and the Rolling Stones. Today's telecast usually draws around 100 million viewers in the United States alone. Valentine's Day is just tomorrow, and many lovebirds are getting creative as to their display and show of affection. A British widower, however, took it a step further, creating a heart-shaped woodland in tribute to his late wife. According to local media, farmer Winston Howes started creating the meadow decades ago when his wife Janet passed away. Howes planted thousands of oak trees in one of the fields on his farm in southwest England, with a point of the heart facing towards his wife's childhood home. Now that's love. On a programming note, as we end the world today, Channels Television will be bringing you an exclusive documentary on the issues of oil theft in Nigeria. This is a result of several months of investigations into the matter. Join us for a repeat of this special documentary, 11 p.m. tonight, right after the news at 10. There'll be another repeat on Wednesday, February 15 at 11 p.m. as well. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Thanks for watching.